You are now live in the Church Communications group. We are waiting for Dave Adamson because I have hijacked his show this week. And let's see what is going on. Let's.
Where do you need me to be?
I just texted Dave a link to our Be Live studio. Hopefully that Dave has gotten it.
I'm on my way. Continue to Facebook? Or continue with YouTube?
It should be a Facebook Live we're using. So just to let you know, there's a lot of different type of software that you can use to go live with Facebook. We were using Zoom, and Zoom did not work for us today. So we are trying to convert over to Be Live. And so the way Be Live works is you have to use the Chrome browser, and then there's an invite link that gets started. So what I did is I copied the link, and all I did was text my friend Dave Adamson.
Oh.
And Dave Adamson is showing up in my video. Here we go. Let's see. Dave Adamson. There you are. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the internet, Dave Adamson.
Kenny, can you hear me?
I think we are live in the Church Communications group. And this is what we do as practitioners, right? We go live, and because this is from trial and error, there have been times, I'm sure, when you've been live, you think, and then you finish the live, and it never went live. So what I'm doing is going on my phone into the Church Communications group, and I'm seeing our feed there, and it is in fact live. There's actually 16 people here joining us. If you are part of the studio audience, would you just do us a favor? And what's a good engagement question, Dave, that we should be asking our audience to chime in on, just to know that they're getting us live?
Yeah, that's great. Kenny, I think the question should be this: what Netflix show are you planning to binge watch during your quarantine season? What is the show that you're planning to binge watch during the quarantine season that you're currently in? I would love to know that, because I'm looking for some suggestions. Kenny, what is it for you? What are you watching or planning to watch through this season?
So what I've been watching is, I don't know if you know, but there is a huge library of international content on Netflix. And in particular, if you probably know the phenomenon of the Korean soap opera. So there's tons of Korean soap operas. However, the latest thing that's been happening, which is quite interesting, is that Netflix as a studio has purchased the rights to American TV shows like Designated Survivor. I don't know if you know, if you are a 24 fan, Jack is back, right, as the president in Designated Survivor. So Netflix bought the rights to Designated Survivor and then created a Korean parallel version. So same storyline, almost same script in many of the episodes, but they contextualized it to the Korean government and Korean president. Really fascinating to see that. And the next one that they've done is Suits.
Wow.
Suits is something, I don't know if you've watched the show Suits in America. You need to watch that show. Great show. Now, what's her name? She's a princess now, right? In the UK, actually in Canada.
Yeah.
Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
Is from that show. They've translated that. So Netflix has bought the rights apparently and translated it into a Korean show, Korean drama. And I will tell you, my son, who doesn't speak Korean fluently at all, and is going through all this subtitles and everything, all that friction, he says the Korean version has more character development, is funnier, is sharper, is a better show than the American version. So,
well, that is interesting, Kenny. Thanks for sharing that international TV news with us. I just want to let you guys know that David Bagwell says he's watching Andy Griffith. Wow. Derek doesn't have Netflix, but wants to watch Altered Carbon. Allison Gray is watching Lost in Space. She's also watching The Crown. You go, Allison. You're watching tons of TV. I absolutely love that. I'm going to start watching some maybe this weekend after things calm down a little bit. But Kenny, you're on my show. This is typically the YouTube Your Church show. I wanted to do things a little bit differently today, considering the just the environment that we're in, with everybody being locked down from the COVID-19 stuff, for churches being closed. And so we're in this real significant point, I think, in the history of not just the world, not just America, but really the church as well. And so I wanted to take a moment to switch up and switch gears a little bit to what we would normally do, so that, Kenny, we can have a conversation about what churches can be doing during this time, not just on YouTube and not just online, but just what they can be doing at this time. And I wanted to get you involved in this because I know that you have connections with a whole lot of churches. You are constantly in contact with churches and have a great idea of what they're doing, or more specifically, what questions they're asking. Because for this typically 30-minute show, I usually have a spot where I ask people to give me their questions, and I would love to just leverage as much of this time as possible to answer questions that either our viewers have or that people in the church world are asking as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's more like I probably elbowed my way in and hijacked the live feed. And I love being side by side with you here today. Yeah, I have tons of questions. I think everyone else has tons of questions. We had a epic co-working Zoom call yesterday with 12 hours from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Live streaming came up over and over again. It is the question on everyone's mind. I'm actually working with some local churches here, and we've got some, I guess, really nitty-gritty questions. And I said, hey, I've got access to the one and only Aussie Dave. Let me just use this time to walk through. So if you would bear with me for some of these really newbie, not even 101, maybe 001 level questions.
Of course.
About YouTube Live, I think that would be super helpful for me, and I'm sure super helpful for a lot of people in the audience. So
yeah.
I'm really glad that you took me up on that offer.
I'm glad that you're here. And I just wanted, before you get into your questions, mate, I would love to ask everybody who's watching right now, if you've got a question, I'm tracking along on the app so I can see your questions coming in. If you've got any questions about anything to do with live streaming, to do with staying connected to your church community during this time, or even thinking larger, like what can your church be doing in the wider world and what will happen at the end of this? Like if you've got questions about any of those sorts of things, this is the episode to be asking those questions, because I want to make sure I'm leveraging Kenny as much as possible as well, because the man is an absolute genius. So ask away, Kenny. What questions have you been hearing?
So first, the question I think is just a conceptual one. Should churches that are live streaming now, and a lot of people are using the church online platform, they're putting on their website. A lot of churches are trying to do Facebook Live. Should they also be doing YouTube Live as well? Should that be another complexity, another choice that should be offering? Let's just start there, hopefully. Yeah,
the short answer to that is I would be arguing yes. Now, from a live streaming point of view, I know that Facebook Live is a very easy option for churches to be leveraging because it's so accessible. But when you Facebook Live into your Facebook page, that automatically just goes out to a percentage of the people who are following you on your Facebook page. Whereas if you're doing that to YouTube, then YouTube broadens it out to more people than just the people who have subscribed to your channel. So that would be one reason why I would be suggesting, yes, leverage YouTube as much as possible. But I also would be, I've been encouraging churches to not decide one or the other. Do both. Especially if you're pre-recording, your messages, or if you're pre-recording some worship, a great thing to be doing is to be simulating live on both Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, because there's such great platforms. I'm a big advocate, and you know this, Kenny. I'm a big advocate for YouTube search engine in the world, and so therefore you have the capacity to get more of your content out to more people. And so I would always, if you had to choose, personally, I would choose YouTube Live and leverage Facebook for more of that engagement stuff that you do during the week, or maybe the quick Facebook Live devotionals or prayer times that you can do through Facebook, and use YouTube for your main content, because then it's always there and more people will be able to find it as long as it's on the YouTube channel. So does that answer the question for you, Kenny?
Absolutely. So that's great. So conceptually, yes, the answer is yes, we should be doing that. The next thing is, where do we start? So a lot of churches are live streaming right now on Facebook, on Church Online platform, on Living as One, etc.
Yeah.
Is it okay to ask you some questions about like just gear and software and just setup and
totally? That's what we're here for.
Okay, so I've got a church that's using Church Online platform.
Yeah.
And so Church Online platform takes a live feed from almost anywhere on the back end. I believe they're using livestream.com as their provider.
Okay.
When they are doing the live stream, and I'm assuming livestream livestream.com allows them to split off and do multiple places. How should they set it up? Should they set it up so that the YouTube live stream is the primary or the Church Online platform is the primary? Which one are they setting up first?
Great question. I'm not 100% sure I have the full answer to that, but I do know that leveraging YouTube, I think, is just a little bit easier than maybe leveraging a Church Online platform. YouTube is very, because it's set up for the masses, the step-by-step process is very, very simple, but then you have to figure out a way to stream that to your Church Online platform at the same time. So one of the things that some churches have been asking me when it comes to this sort of thing is it worth having two computers, one running to a Church Online platform or to Facebook Live and another one running towards YouTube Live? And my answer is always yes. That's always the best approach, rather than trying to funnel all of this content, all of these pixels into one computer and trying to blast that out. Have multiple computers operating. That's definitely the best way. Well, you sound like you agree.
Well, I'm not agreeing. I'm saying I didn't even think about that, and so that's a great tip to bring back to the media team. Many churches are doing it for the first time. I actually see that there's a question here that's the same question I was literally going to ask. David said, I've signed up for the YouTube Live, but it said that there's a 24-hour wait. First of all, what is that all about? But then he also says it's been 48 hours or more. Is that normal? So obviously we need to prepare in advance. But if you're watching this not live on Friday, but get to it on Saturday or Sunday morning, is the practicalities that if you haven't signed up for YouTube Live by Saturday or Sunday morning, that you should probably wait till the next week? What is that 24-hour wait all about?
Yeah, great question, David. So typically the wait time for that, when I first did it, a couple of years ago, it was literally minutes. It just took minutes to get Facebook Live eligible. There might be something, David, I would suggest. I know that because they're being inundated at the moment, it might be taking a little bit longer than normal, but 48 hours does seem like a lot. So I would try logging out, logging back in, and seeing if that does anything. Maybe there's another setting that you need to have out there. That you need to fix and switch on or switch off to get that eligibility. But sometimes logging out and logging back in will actually reset some of that system. If you're still not having trouble, if you're still having trouble at that point, the YouTube help desk, which leverages Google technology, is super, super helpful. So I would say jump onto that as quick as possible. This was something that I talked about last week, actually, during my show last week, where I talked about, it usually takes a couple of hours and sometimes up to a day to get that eligibility. So make sure you do it as quick as possible. So keep trying, David. I'm sure it will come through eventually. One other thing, Kenny, that David's question prompted me to think of. Yeah. Some people need to just turn on the trick to getting that live eligibility is just to turn on the verification process for YouTube. Make sure that your account is verified. Now, unlike Twitter, unlike Instagram, where you get a blue check mark if you have jumped through enough hoops to get verified, when it comes to YouTube, the way you get verified is you go into your settings, the advanced settings, where you've got some boxes up. One of the boxes says verify your account. And when you verify your account, you literally click on the button and provide them with an alternative, a secondary email address. Once you've provided that, they send you a link instantly and you're instantly verified. I've been asked by a bunch of people in the last week, hey, I can't stream live because I don't have 1,000 subs, or I can't stream live from my phone because I don't have 1,000 subscriptions. You don't need 1,000 subscriptions. That's a fallacy. You actually, all you need is just to be verified, and then you can stream live from your computer, or you can stream live from your phone simply by being verified. So just click on, as I said, go to a YouTube Studio, click on settings, click on advanced settings, and then go to the verify your account and make sure you're verified. You can go through the hoops of getting the live eligibility, but if you're not verified, it still won't let you stream live. So make sure you do that as a priority.
Okay, that's a great tip there. I think some of this stuff is just hard to navigate, right? Like it's
yeah.
There's no instruction manual anymore included in the box, right?
No, that is exactly right. And that's why I keep saying to people, if there's anything that I personally can do to help you, text my number, 201-267-2156. Text me. I usually respond to text very, very quickly, a lot quicker than maybe email, or you don't have to wait a week to get to another show. 201-267-2156. I'm sure Kenny will turn that into a banner pretty soon. If he's not already doing beautiful. Just keep that up for a little while. I'm here to help, guys. Everybody who's watching, my heartbeat is for the capital C Church. And I just want to help you. I want to pour my time into helping you get your content out to as many people as possible, because this is the time when as a church, we need to be providing hope and providing encouragement and providing inspiration and using this time of isolation to breed creativity. So let's all work together, and text me on that number, 201-267-2156. It's coming across one more time, 201-267-2156. I would love to connect with you and help talk you through some things. Last week, actually, Kenny, following my show last week, I had a guy text me, and I was able to literally walk through the process of verifying his account so he could live stream with him. So if you've got any questions after the end of this show, please don't hesitate to text me, or just put your comments into the put your question into the comment section, and I'll try to get to answer it at some point.
Okay. Let's talk about.
Kenny, you're talking gear.
Let's talk about first of all equipment.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been live streaming before, you probably don't have one of those fancy red cameras, Panasonic cameras, all this gear, mumbo jumbo nerdiness that I've heard fly around in chats and comments this last week. What is the minimum equipment that is needed to have a decent quality live stream on YouTube?
Yeah, such a great question. The minimum equipment that I would recommend is a smartphone. Really, it's as simple as just having a smartphone. If you've got an iPhone, for example, or Android, it doesn't really matter. You just have to click on the YouTube app, go to your channel, and then at the right-hand side, you will see a little camera with a camera icon with a plus sign in it. Click on that, and then go live is one of the options. Once you're verified, go live is one of the options, and you can be streaming from your iPhone, as simple as that. Now, I do think that a huge requirement that often gets overlooked is the audio component. iPhone cameras are fantastic, but the microphones aren't necessarily great. So I would be encouraging you, if you are going to spend money and you just want to spend the minimal amount, make sure that you are purchasing some sort of microphone. So what I'm about to do is I just put into the chat a link to an iPhone level live stream kit that I created earlier today. That is really the bottom. That is the cheapest option. If you've got an iPhone, you might just get a desktop tripod, maybe a microphone, maybe a light if you can't, if you can't find a window to sit next to, and you can start streaming as simply as that. So that's probably the lowest level. If you have a little bit of extra cash, maybe you're on an economy budget, and you want to do this for your church or something like that, but you don't have a lot of money to spend, I've created an economy list as well. So it's a kit. I'm putting it into the chat room right now. This is the economy level live streaming kit. So it's a little bit higher end camera, a little bit higher end microphone. Maybe there's a light like the one that I'm using right now, just to cast a little bit of light onto the subject that's being recorded. And then if you've got, say you're an intermediate, maybe you've got a DSLR at your church, something along those lines, and you want to a little bit extra to go with the DSLR so that you can stream a little bit higher quality. I'm going to put what I'm calling the prosumer kit. This is the not quite professional, but a little bit more than consumer kit. That's in there as well. And there's a little bit higher end microphone, a little bit higher end lighting rig, a little bit higher end like tripods and things like that. And then if you're at a church that has an unlimited budget, first of all, well done. Congratulations, that's incredible. Not all people have that capacity. You do, so I'm so glad. So I want to send you a pro level. This is not the red camera that you mentioned, Kenny. It's not quite that level, but it is a really higher end DSLR, higher end camera with a much better microphone system and all that sort of thing. But you don't need that stuff to go live. Some of the people on YouTube who get the most views, in fact, they get the most views of all videos online, period, are using just a simple camera, maybe even a GoPro, and just a really cheap microphone. So you don't have to be doing much in order to get views. What it is, it's not about the level of production. It is just about the level of your content, and make sure your content is good. Make sure your content is sharp, and make sure that your audio is as best as it can be, because that really does play a huge factor. Now I see Rachel has asked, don't you need 100 followers on YouTube to live stream? Small church here with 80 subscribers. No, Rachel, you actually don't. You can live stream with 1 or 2 subs. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're verified and that you've got the live streaming option clicked on your YouTube channel. So as long as you do that, you actually don't need to have any sort of number of subs. That's not part of it at all. So make sure that you're going into your YouTube studio, make sure you're going into the settings, the advanced settings, clicking on making sure you're eligible to live stream, and then making sure that you're eligible and you're verified. So they're the 2 things that you need. I see Kenny's putting some of the stuff up there now. That's great, Kenny. I hope that's really helpful. Yeah. Bo Coffran has jumped in and said, what about an inexpensive ring light or something like that to improve the video? Yes, ring lights will improve the quality of the video. You can see that right now. I know Kenny's got a lighting rig that is helping light him up at the moment. I've got a lighting rig right here. It's a cheap, this probably cost me $40. It's not a ring light. It is just a square light that I'm able to dial the temperature in as well. So you can get those on Amazon for as small as $40. And in fact, if you go, Kenny, if you go to the next level up that I put in there, the economy level, I put this exact light that I'm using into that economy kit. So it's a really simple thing to get, Bo, and you don't really need to spend a whole lot of money to get some good lighting. But hey, guys, if you're a smaller church or you just want to do this to help provide some content, and you don't have the capacity to spend a whole lot of money, go and sit by a window. Natural lighting is free and it's really good. So there's a whole bunch of different options that you can have there. And just to answer your question again, Bo, that is in US dollars, not Aussie dollars. So you don't have to spend much at all. Kenny, have you got any other questions for me?
Absolutely. So first of all, this kit, just to let everybody know, Dave has singled out tripods and adapters and iPhone microphones, lavalier mics, just all these little things that it's going to be, I don't know, not easy to Google or search for on Amazon. He's got all this stuff in multiple levels.
And this is all stuff, Kenny, just so you know, this is stuff that I have personally used. I'm not just pulling this randomly. All the stuff that you see in all of those kits, apart from some of the cameras, I haven't had a chance to use all of the cameras, but a lot of this stuff is stuff that I personally have used and do use when it comes to my own social media feeds and when it comes to my own YouTube channel as well.
Right. So hopefully you can see on the screen, there's a pro level kit, an economy level kit, prosumer level kit, and then he has an iPhone level kit, and some other recommendations lists like recommended camera bags, et cetera, et cetera. And you said, Dave, that you were pointing something out in the economy level kit before?
Yeah, if you scroll down on the economy level kit, there's a lighting rig there. which one of the great things about doing one of the reasons why I did this was because people are always searching for this sort of information, but maybe they don't know where to find it. You can just go to that kit.co/AussieDave, or click on the link that I left in the comment, and you can click on that link and go directly to Amazon to purchase that stuff.
So yes. So anyway, there's a bunch of stuff there. We've got the links in the comments. You can always text Dave. I'm sure, Dave, you'd be willing to share that with people, or give pointers on equipment, etc.
Yes, more than happy to do that.
To get started there. Okay, so here's another question. The next question that I have about live streaming on YouTube is length. So, and I guess this is for everybody in particular. I mean, we're moving to online platforms, which is very different. You and I have had many discussions on what the appropriate length is. Should pastors be cutting down their sermons because of the attention deficit of streaming content? Is there a different approach that they should be taking?
I would, that's a really a great question, and one that's fraught with some danger, because some people naturally are able to get to a teaching point a lot quicker than some others, or maybe some teaching pastors are more wired to tell a lot of backstory and things like that. So I don't want to say that there's, this is the perfect length that you should be doing from a live stream point of view. I know at our church, we've been streaming live our online services for a long time, and our regular length of a message is 35 minutes out of a 60-minute service time. So our service runs for an hour, and 35 minutes of that, more than just over 50% of that is in the message. So I don't want to say there's a perfect time length, but I do know that when it comes to online streaming, especially for churches that aren't used to doing it and pastors that aren't used to doing it, I think shorter is better. Whatever you can do to shorten that, I think, is always going to be better. The average length of a TED Talk is 15 minutes. The average length of a video on YouTube is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So I think somewhere in that capacity might be the sweet spot when it comes to online streaming. You also have to think through the capacity of a production team to either record that live or to pre-record that and stream it out, and what your bandwidth on your internet is able to carry as well. So that's part of that component for sure. And then on top of that, think of creative ways to start leveraging your content. Some of it might be that you speak for 30 minutes, but you cut that up into 5-minute chunks and put it out throughout the whole week, every single day of the week, rather than just in one normal streaming service. Kenny and I were just talking a little bit before we came onto this conversation about the fact that we just need to be, church is not going to look like it used to look during this season when we're all online, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be a host coming out, 3 or 4 worship songs up front, and then a 35-minute message. It doesn't have to look like that. It can look any way that you want it to look. It could look like at 9 o'clock on Sunday, a pastor coming in and just doing a 15-minute talk, and then an hour later, the worship team streaming, a worship leader streaming acoustic worship from their living room. Like, do stuff like that. Anything that will help breed creativity, I think, is a good thing.
Hey, so one of the things that we've always said is, why don't we cut all the worship songs, because no one's singing in the living room like that. That's a discussion for another time.
That would be silly, Kenny.
Here's a question.
Hang on, Kenny. You brought up a great point, and I want to say why I think it's silly. Here's why I think it's silly to cut music out altogether. Even the secular world sees the importance and the hope and encouragement that music can bring during a time like this. You've seen Chris Martin from Coldplay stream live from his piano to Instagram Live. John Legend did it just last night and got millions of views because he just realized people need encouragement, people need hope. So as the church, if you've got the capacity, if you've got the talent at your church to have somebody stream songs live to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, then I would say make sure they're doing that. But I've got one caveat, and I know you would agree with me on this, Kenny. We don't agree on much, but I know you would agree with me on this. Live singing, the room gives you a little bit of a buffer. the video singing to a video camera is a lot less forgiving. So make sure the talent that you have is really good at their voice is totally on pitch, their guitars are in tune, all that sort of thing. Just a really small thing to take note of. Absolutely.
So here's a question, I think, in terms of production decisions. And a lot of people don't understand this, that this is an option, I think. Should a church, especially those that are starting for the first time, pre-record their video that's going to be live streamed, or do they just take it all live? Are there too many variables the first time to go all live? And if you have the opportunity, should you pre-record?
Great question. I think that the short answer is yes. There are too many variables if you're streaming live for the very first time, and I would encourage you to do one of two. First of all, to pre-record the service or pre-record the message, however that looks in your context, and then do one of two things. Either post that and schedule that to go out to YouTube or Facebook at 9 a.m. on Sunday or whatever time you typically would meet. So that's option one, and people can just watch it on demand from a certain period on Sunday, or leverage the tools that I talked about in our show last week, and you can go back and watch that from last week. It's right here in the Church Communications Facebook page now. You can go and watch it. Leverage the tools that I outlined there, such as OBS, to do what's called a simulated live. So essentially what happens is you're broadcasting live, but you're just broadcasting pre-recorded content into that live platform, and that works for both YouTube Live and Facebook Live as well. So I just think that removes a whole bunch of variables, as you said. It allows you to know exactly how long the video content is going to be. It allows you to tweak and mix audio so that that's as good as it could possibly be. It also takes out of the equation bad internet connections on a particular day, all that sort of thing as well. And even if you pre-post it to Facebook Live, for example, then I would encourage you to do a watch party. Do a Facebook watch party at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. on Sunday, whatever time you typically meet, because that pulls people together. And you want people to be feeling like they're coming together. It allows you to have a live chat as the video runs, and it just brings in this a live feel to a pre-recorded event, and gives people the opportunity to come together and connect.
Great. I just wanted to take this opportunity to just call out something. We're doing a project with Church Communications to try to get a listing, a whole directory of all the churches out there that are doing live streaming and church online. So if you are live streaming and offering your church services online, all you have to do is go to churchcommunications.com/church online list. There's a short form, and what we're going to do is we're going to send it out to the media, make it available in a bunch of places. We're trying to get a list. We have 800 churches on that list. We know that during this period right now, many, many more are going to need to be added to that list. So if you are streaming and you want a little bit more exposure and you want to be included in that list, please just check out that URL. It's on the bottom of the screen here. But it's at churchcommunications.com/church online list. Okay, so the next question I have, David.
Before you jump in, Kenny, and I don't know if you're about to call this out, but David Bagwell just asked about giving more examples of how to do pre-recorded live. David, there's a number of different things you can do. I would highly encourage you. It doesn't have to be a huge production. You could have your pastor in the living room, or in his den, or in the dining room, anything along those lines. And then if he's equipped with maybe an iPhone, maybe like that, he can leverage a tool, a software like Switcher Studio, for example. I've talked about that many times on this show in the past. Switcher Studio is really one person can run multiple cameras that give you that feel of it being a little bit more live, a little bit more polished. It's got a few more bells and whistles. You can do lower thirds like Kenny's doing right now. You can leverage multiple cameras, as I said, like a wide shot or a tight shot, and you can do that all from just one simple app on your phone or on your computer. So that's called Switcher Studio. I know I've talked about that a few times on this show. So I don't know if Kenny can put a link to that in the comments as I'm talking, but that's a really great way to do it as well. And all you're doing is you're pre-recording stuff or streaming it out live, using that software to pre-record it, and then from there, all you need to do is go to Facebook Live or YouTube Live, hit that Go Live button in both platforms, get the streaming key that we talked about last week, which again, if you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. It's right here in the Facebook group. Get that stream, send it across to Switcher Studio or send it across to OBS, whatever software you're using, and then you can stream it out live, and it becomes a simulated live event on either of those platforms. So make sure you check that out. Check out Switcher Studio. It is a great platform. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. So make sure you get onto something along those lines. And yeah, thanks for putting that. I think you put that URL into the chat, Kenny. So
it's on at switcherstudio.com. I mean, I think the thing that I love about Switcher Studio is that you can hook up to 9 iOS devices.
Yeah.
And you have this ability to become a TV production studio that rivals CNN, ABC, all the big networks.
And Kenny, I want to jump on that comment because that is a really good comment. You have the capacity by using a simple software like this that is very easy to use to become a media broadcasting organization, right? And that's where I think the shift has to happen in the church during this crisis moment. Typically, we are an event-based organization. Let's be honest. We put all of our time and energy into creating an event on a Sunday or maybe a midweek event as well, if that's what your church does. But now we have to be a media production and distribution company, and there's software out there like Switcher Studio that allows you to become that in a very short period of time because it's so intuitive and so easy to use.
Switcher Studio. We are actually considering moving all of our Facebook Live shows here to Switcher Studio, and that's something that you'll see in action. Right now I'm using BeLive.tv. Dave typically uses a package called OBS. It's open software. It's free, right? OBS. Tell us, just give us a rundown, 30-second rundown of OBS, Dave.
Yeah, I started using OBS, quite frankly, because it's free and it's pretty easy to use. But I, like you, Kenny, I'm about to switch over to Switcher Studio for sure because I know I can take all of the assets that I've already created for OBS and put them straight into Switcher Studio, and it just has a lot more capacity to make the live stream feel a lot more polished and a lot more produced without having to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to do it. So OBS is great, especially if you're starting out and you want something that's really quick and easy. But OBS is something that I'm going to be moving to. Switcher Studio is what I'm going to be moving to and moving my show to on a regular basis moving forward. I would highly recommend both. I just happen to like Switcher Studio a little bit better.
Yeah, I would say OBS is a little bit more technical. The on-ramp is a little bit higher, right? I'm showing all these screens that you have to contend with. Switcher Studio is a much more prosumer, consumerish level, right?
Yeah, prosumer is a good way to put it, I think. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the fact that it gives you the capacity to have multiple cameras puts it far and above OBS, in my opinion. That multiple iPhone camera thing is really, really good.
Awesome. Okay, so practicalities of live on social life. We always start a Facebook Live, we start a YouTube Live, we start an Instagram Live, and then we have instant audience of the world. And then we see that big fat goose egg sitting there for a little bit, zero live. And we're asking for people to come on. We're texting people, your family, your dog. You just want people to come on to begin with. So here's the question. What do you do with your church online services? Do you have a countdown video at the beginning? Do you wait? Do you have banter? Do you tell people? I feel like it's always a little bit ironic. It's kind of like the express lane at the supermarket, where you're treating at the supermarket, you're treating the people who want to spend the least money with you with the highest level of service. Get them out the door quickly, give them great service, and the people who are spending the most money with you have to stand online. Same thing. The people who showed up first for your live events, you make them sit around and banter, and they're the ones who made the efforts to catch you first.
Yep.
But there's the practicality of the regular audience. What do we do that? And we're talking about church world, Dave. Church world. Christians don't come to church on time.
Yeah.
Even with the time changes. So what do we do? Do we do a countdown? Do we banter? How long? How do we start, literally?
Yeah, great question. I think somebody was asking that question in the chat earlier on. Somebody from Oklahoma or something. So I'm an advocate for, when it comes to streaming live on YouTube Live, especially. We know that the average view time on YouTube Live is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. If I'm doing a half-hour show, people are only going to watch 4 minutes and 20 seconds of it. Then I want to make sure that I'm constantly repeating some stuff and some key bits of information. And especially when you look at Facebook Live and you see the average view time of a Facebook Live video, and you can track it on a graph, and actually YouTube allows you to do this as well. It tracks on a graph where your audience dropped off, and they're usually dropping off very, very quickly. So I don't think having a 30-second countdown serves a real purpose from that point of view, because people will bail on that before it even gets to 20 seconds left to go. So I think you need to start big. I think you need to start just full on providing the information. If you watch any YouTube channel, any YouTuber of note who gets lots and lots of views, they jump straight in with their content. And so what I would be encouraging people to do is to start their videos more in line with what is happening, from a YouTube perspective, in that you might want to get on and just say, hey, welcome to our church. It's so great that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about this topic specifically. And by the end of this video, you're going to have this information that's going to make your life better. If you can start like that, which is the way that I would start every YouTube video that I've ever done,
right?
Give them that value in your time here, then people are more likely to watch. And the people who come in late, you just have to keep reiterating that, hey, the reason I'm talking about this is because I want you to have the best live streaming experience you could possibly have on YouTube. That's why I'm giving you this information, and then continue with the information.
Nice. Okay, that's very good advice. Here's the second follow-up question. Do you start the live feed 5, 10, 15 minutes early? Or do you just, if your services are at 9 o'clock, do you start at 9 o'clock, or do you start at 5, 10 minutes early so that people who are clicking through early get somewhere and stay? And also, same thing, right? That whole, warm-up period.
Yeah, I think it depends what platform you're using, Kenny. If you're using your own church online platform that's embedded into your website, then yes, you can have some sort of pre-roll, maybe some slides, some information of what's going on. I think that's a great thing, because people are coming in expecting that. But if you're streaming live to Instagram, to Facebook or to YouTube, then I would short as possible. Maybe it's a 5-second little stinger or something along those lines. I know you do that, Kenny, on your Instagram live videos. You have a little bit of this is what the video is going to be about, why it's valuable, and then you have a quick stinger, and then you move into the content. I would suggest, if you're streaming live to any platform other than your own website, don't have a countdown. Get straight into the content as quickly as possible, and then leave all that stuff for the back end.
So what is a bumper? What is a stinger?
So a bumper and a stinger are essentially the same thing. A stinger is a little...
Tops and tails is another word, right?
Yeah, it's just a little 5-second little thing. Maybe it's even 3 seconds that just has your logo on it, that catches people's attention and is able to break up the visual thing. If we had a stinger right now, rather than it being a 2-shot, this little thing would slide in and it would catch people's attention again and bring them back to what they're doing.
Gotcha. Awesome. So let's talk about the service in terms of managing it. So you have OBS, Switcher Studio, live stream. Is it possible instead of just having multiple computers, to have services out there that lets you do all of them at once? Like, what if you don't have multiple computers? What if you don't have multiple staff members to hit play, and pay attention to everybody? Is there any services that help you tackle all of them at once? Because at some point it gets very confusing for people.
Yeah, and this is where it gets a little bit difficult because there's no short and fast answer. If you're streaming live to Facebook, then you need a Facebook live stream key that's going into software like Switcher Studio to be able to broadcast that live. And that's in there because it's trying to protect you. It's trying to protect your live feed from being hacked from somebody else. And the same thing is true for YouTube Live. So if I wanted to go to YouTube Live and Facebook Live at exactly the same time, I've got two different platform keys that I need to plug into the one software, and one software can't actually do that. So in that situation, what I would be suggesting, what I would be recommending is go in, choose your platform, and run a 9 o'clock service on YouTube, run an 11 o'clock service on Facebook Live. Or if you simulate them live, you can do a similar sort of thing from that point of view. So do something like that. Just mix it up a little bit. Again, it doesn't have to look like we would normally want it all to look like. So maybe it's providing it on demand on YouTube and streaming it live on Facebook. Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe it's running it to Facebook at the same time, but doing a watch party on Facebook, because that doesn't require the live stream key because you're already uploaded the video. That's how I would be on that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, what about promotion? How do we get people to our YouTube live? I mean, is it on our page? Is it a specific link? Is it on a channel? What are we promoting? What do we say and what are we promoting? And then what's the actual link? Is it going to our account page, or the channel page, the playlist page, the specific video page? Those are two, I guess, questions that came up this week.
Yeah, we've been experimenting with a little bit of this stuff because it's super important to be able to promote the right link, right? And so usually each live stream produces its own link, but it's hard for us to get that link until we're actually streaming live. And by that point, we can't pre-promote it. So if you're streaming live to YouTube, and using YouTube as the example, if you're going to stream live to your YouTube channel, if you give out your YouTube channel on social media, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and you say, hey, we're going to be streaming live at this time on YouTube, here's our YouTube channel link. As soon as somebody goes to that channel at that time, the live video is the main video that's on the screen at that point. What that means is if they're watching on a desktop, then the first video that they see is going to be the live video. That's going to sit at the very top of the desktop window, and it's going to say live, and they just need to click on it to play it. If they're watching on a mobile device, something like their phone, which is where the vast majority of people actually watch YouTube, as soon as they go to that page, they click on that link, and maybe they click on it in Twitter and it moves them across to the Facebook app. As soon as they do that on their mobile, that live video starts playing instantly, like it's preloaded to play. So all you need to do is make sure that you're leveraging your social media and pushing out your YouTube channel link. That's what I would suggest. Kenny, I see that you just put in there Restream.io to multi-stream. Can you explain a little bit of that to the people who saw you put that in there but not sure what it is?
Yeah, Restream.io is an interesting resource. It basically allows you to take all those keys that you're talking about, and then it does multi-streaming. So it allows you to broadcast live to over 30 different networks at the same time. It's pretty amazing. It is a paid service, and you have to configure it in advance. But basically, this is a service that is trying to solve that problem that everyone has. And so I'll show you the site here quickly, but it's Restream.io. And I'm wondering if they actually have, you can do live streaming, a scheduler. There's multi-chat, so they're all together. You get data analytics on each of the channels. I'm wondering if they actually have all the channels that they support on their website. But it really is something that everyone should, you should try and test out.
Do you know what the pricing structure is?
Let's look at the price right now. If you go to their site, there's a free to do one channel per platform on 30 different platforms, Facebook personal profile, etc. $16 per month. It is a yearly thing, so it's billed as one payment of $190. That's the fine print. So basically $200, and you can stream to an additional destination. So more than one channel at a time. So you can do 2 Twitches, 2 YouTube channels, that kind of thing.
That's great.
$41 a month is 3 extra destinations, etc. So, yeah, and this allows you to stream into Facebook groups, which typically is not as easy to do while you're streaming to the other places.
So I'm not sure if I understood what you said there. It allows you to do 2 YouTube channels at the same time. Does it allow you to do Facebook and YouTube at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's a great resource. $200 for a year is not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. I mean, if you think about it, it's $16 per month. And the question is, I mean, if you want to do like really just be like an executive pastor business point of view, if you're able to reach an audience that just brings in one new family or one new giver a month, and the average giving is somewhere between $25 and $28 in America right now, that would cover the cost of this actual tool. And then if you're able to acquire a new audience that eventually turns into givers, it's a tool that pays for itself. And the halo effect of just being able to reach hundreds, if not thousands of more people, I think is something to invest in. And it's, I mean, I don't want to, make too casual of churches' budgets, especially in this time period. Everyone's tightening their belts.
Yeah.
But this is something that if you can go to some of your high capacity donors that have the vision for internet church online church, and have that vision, this is something that they might be willing to support out of their own pocket, additionally outside of their offerings and tithes. It might be a way to bring someone and get them involved in your church online ministry, your live stream ministry. Again, there might be people that have never given to your church before, and this is finally a place to light up the passion and align their giving with where their heart is. And so anyway, that's something that you can probably afford to do, or at least try out.
That's great.
As we close out the show, Dave, what other final notes do you have on the first timers? People are just getting up and running this coming Sunday or next Sunday.
Yeah.
What do they need to be concerned about? Is there anything from a experience point of view that, hey, give them tips on, what not to stumble upon, or, brush your teeth, comb your hair, use a toothpick before you go on camera, that kind of stuff. What other practical just help can you give everybody?
Yeah, look, my one warning would be, hey, don't spend so much time stressing over how you're going to live stream all the separate components of a typical church service. And instead, as I said earlier, why don't you change things up a little bit? Why don't you make it look a little bit different than it would normally look? It doesn't have to be, like I said before, that 3 or 4 songs up front and then a message. It could just be the message, and you figure out a different way to do the musical worship component of your service. When it comes to language that you want to be using, I would always, you obviously want to take out any references, if you're pre-recording it, to the day that you're recording, or to the time that you're recording. You don't want to just start every service by saying, hey, good morning, because people might be watching on demand later on in the nighttime, and then it creates that disconnect instantly. Another thing would be just start small with just the message, if that's all you think you can get your head around, and that is totally okay. Also, make sure that you're using language that is super inclusive from the point of view of not saying, hey, we're so glad that you're here, because obviously they're not here together in one location, but using language like, hey, we're so glad that you're part of our church today, because they are still part of your church, even though they're signing in from a digital location that might be a while many miles away. So use that sort of inclusive language. And then if you're running a chat, make sure that you're asking lots of questions of the people in the chat room. We did that right out of the gate, Kenny, for this show. We said, hey, tell us what Netflix show that you're watching, binge watching during this isolation season. So have things like that allow you to engage with the people and get them involved in the conversation. This is a real rare opportunity that we have as communicators, that when we're communicating with an online audience, we can actually get live feedback coming through via the chat room. Like right now, I can see the chat that's jumping up here in a little chat box that we have. So I'm able to interact with people and call people out, which typically we wouldn't do in church. If somebody had a question about something you just shared, if somebody said, hey, what was that passage that you just, they're not going to yell that out. You're not going to get a question from the audience necessarily, because that's the way we've set up our churches. But when it comes to live streaming, you want to make people feel like they're participating in the service with you. And so that means sometimes asking them questions that elicit some sort of response from them. In fact, I'd love to do that now. I'd love to know where right now, if you're watching this live stream, where are you watching from? Where are you watching from right at this moment? What's the town and the state? I want to know all of that. So make sure you drop that into the comment section so that we can just get a sense of where everybody's gathering from. The other great thing about online, and this is the tip that I would have as well, is because we're online, Kenny, we can drive people to other resources. As we've been talking in this message, I've been posting live links to certain things, and so we've got the capacity to do that as well. So if you're in church and you're delivering your first online message and you want people to sign up for a digital small group, you don't just put that up on a screen and hope that they remember it by the end of the service and during the car ride home. You can actually put a live link into the chat that allows people to click live. And in fact, I would love to do that right now. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel afterwards, I want to encourage you to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and leave your comments as well. I see people are watching from Wembley, Texas, from, I don't even want to pronounce that one, Nacogdoches, Texas. Have you heard of that, Kenny? I've never heard of that.
No, not yet.
But we're starting to see people starting to answer that question and get involved in the conversation. There's people from Minnesota who are watching. This is fantastic. Oceanside, California. Dude, Oceanside, California, we're praying for you guys. You're the first state that went into complete lockdown. And so we're going to be praying for you. That's incredible.
That's great.
What else, Kenny?
I think that's a lot to handle. We've gotten a lot of value out of this specific broadcast, at least for the churches that I'm working with. Thank you for making yourself available. I just want to remind everybody, this show is a live show that we do every week, 2 p.m. Eastern, inside the Church Communications Facebook group with Dave Adamson. He is a wealth of knowledge, and I think it takes over 52 weeks to unpack just a portion of the knowledge and experience that he has to share with everybody. I know, Dave, you earlier in the broadcast, you gave out your phone number for people to connect with you. Would you be willing to share that once more again? Yeah, for sure. It's 201-267-2156. That's 201-267-2156. Please make sure that if you've got any questions, I know we fire-hosed you with information. Texting me is just a really quick way for me to be able to respond. And my heartbeat is to help you as a church leader to get the most out of tools and technology like YouTube. I also want to encourage you that we have a group called YouTube Your Church on Facebook as well. So go and check that out. Just click in the search box, YouTube Your Church, and that's where a whole bunch of church leaders, much like this church communication one, but just a lot more niche, where we talk specifically about YouTube tips and tricks. And also, follow me on Instagram. That would be awesome as well, or YouTube, my own YouTube channel. We're going to definitely need to pick your brain about Instagram at some point soon. In fact, let me just do a shout out. We are doing an Instagram summit later in April. TheInstaSummit.com is where you can sign up. Dave, you're going to be one of the speakers, I believe, right? Yeah. Sharing some of the tips and tricks. Why don't you share with everybody the Instagram handle account information so people actually follow your stuff before we even get to the summit to see some of the things that we're going to learn about?
Yeah, so you can put it as a lower third, Kenny. It's at Aussie Dave, AUSSIE Dave, at Aussie Dave. And here's the thing: I've been leveraging Instagram for like four or so years now to do live like daily devotionals. I'm currently in a process of walking through for 2020, giving people a different Hebrew word that will help their faith, help grow their faith. So every single day I'm posting an original photo that I take somewhere in the world, although I think at the moment my photos will be more based here in Georgia. But then I tie that to a spiritual devotional thing. And so I've been doing those Bible devotions for quite some time now, and now I have like more than 50,000 people who read those devotions every single day. So I would love for you to connect with me there at Aussie Dave on Instagram. I would love for you to be part of that community, and feel free to take my content, and if you like it, share it on your own Instagram, your own blog post, and take complete credit for it. You don't have to give me credit at all. Just steal it if it's helpful.
Well, thank you, Dave, for your generosity here and on Instagram. That wraps it up for this week. Thank you so much for letting me into your world here on YouTube, Your Church with Dave Adamson. I'm sure we're going to be hearing from each other even probably before next Friday. But again, thank you so much for today. Any last parting words and a sign off for us, Dave?
No, I just want you all to know that, as a pastor, as a church communicator, as a dad, and as a husband, I am with you. I know the stress that you're going through from being isolated and having to teach kids things. So if you're in any of those categories, if you're working for a church, if you're a pastor, if you're a church communicator, if you're a dad, if you're a parent, if you're a spouse, I just want you to know that I'm with you. I'm feeling the same stress. I'm feeling the same anxiety and the same fear that you are. And I'm praying for you guys. I don't want you just to leverage my phone number that I gave out to this audience for questions about YouTube. I want you to leverage it. If you need prayer, I would love for you to text me, and I'd be happy to pray for you as well.
Well, thank you, Dave, for everything. We'll see you next week here on YouTube, Your Church.
Peace.